Greetings everyone, my name is Bobby Olin and I am so happy to be welcoming you here for another episode of Bobolog. Like I said, my name is Bobby Olin and I'm coming to you from Victoria, Australia. I am mainly a knitter, but I also dabble in all sorts of other crafts, so this is my little vlog to share all of those adventures with you. I hope you enjoy spending your time with me today. I live and create on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, and I would like to acknowledge them and pay my respects to their elders past, present and future. I do also want to apologize to you, my viewers. I just realized not long after posting the most recent episode that I had somehow stopped getting notifications anytime someone had commented on any of my videos. So for the last 4 months at least, it seems, I just hadn't responded to any of you, and I am so sorry about that. I only found out because maybe a day or two after the last episode went out, my partner said he'd had a brief look and saw that I had a comment, and I was like, I didn't get a comment. I never was told that I got a comment. So I had a bit of a better look through the interface of YouTube Studio, and I saw where the comments are. Somehow, even though it's right there on the front page, I had just completely missed it. So I'm really sorry to those of you who had commented on my videos before, and I just had not even acknowledged what you had said. So I have gone through all of those now, and I will try to be more diligent about checking and responding to any comments that any of you leave, because I am so grateful that you choose to spend any time with me, let alone, put in the effort to try to communicate with me. And I definitely wasn't ignoring you on purpose. Okay, what else do I have to say for housekeeping? Oh, yes, as usual, I am going to do my best to put links to everything that I mention in the YouTube description down below. But if I miss any, just let me know and I will pop those in. Today, I have a couple of projects to share with you on Handy Dandy. I have a couple of recommendations for eyes and ears, and a couple of bits and pieces for Multicrafty. I think that's all I have on my list. Yes, so let's just jump straight into Handy Dandy. The first project that I actually want to mention, I haven't got to show you. I should have had it in the previous episode because it is a present that I knit for a Christmas gift last year, and somehow I had just completely forgotten about it. So the pattern is called the Feminine Raggsokker. Oh my gosh, I just realized I did not check who designed that. Let me see if I can just quickly pull that up. Sorry if I really mispronounced this designer's last name, but Ingrid Nødtvedt. Sorry if I've completely butchered that, but it should have popped up in the video, and I'll have the link down below as well. All right. Back to it. Anyway, this is a project that I have had in my Ravelry queue for a really long time. I hadn't made it because I had planned it for a project for myself. And I'm really terrible about making projects for myself. When I make socks in particular, I really like making socks for my partner, for example, but I'm just not as motivated to make them for me. And then I decided sort of at the last minute that I would make a pair of socks for one of my cousins for Christmas. because I know that she really loves hand knit socks. So I jumped into this one. One of the reasons I picked it is because it is made of a thicker yarn, so it would knit up quicker and I would get it done in time for Christmas Eve, which is when my family celebrates. So yeah, I finally got around to making these. I think I did use I either used a finer yarn weight than was called for in the pattern, or my gauge was just completely off, because I know that I tend to be a tight knitter. So I didn't want to have to do any math tweaking to figure this one out. So I ended up just knitting the bigger size, because that would have gotten me pretty close to what the intended size of the sock was. The thing about this one that did confuse me though is the ease on these socks. From what I could tell, just by looking at the gauge they gave and the sizes, the foot size for each of the sizes. I feel like I'm saying this all wrong. I looked at the gauge, I looked at how many stitches there were around, and I calculated what circumference that would give. And then I checked that circumference against the size that it was being knit for, and it had positive ease. And I had never seen socks before with positive ease. Usually they have negative ease, so they fit better, they don't fall off your feet, they don't slip around in your shoes if you wear them with shoes. So I was really confused by that. But then I thought maybe these are just really intended to be house socks. They have that, slouchy cuff. They're really more possibly more of like a comfort wear at home design than use out and about. So I thought possibly that's why. I did have a look through other project notes on Ravelry, and it was really interesting because while there were a few that did say it was loose and they said that it worked fine for how they were wearing them, I think there was at least one other project that did say it was a bit snug too. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. I think I did decide to aim for something that would have no ease, so no positive ease, no negative ease, just fit the circumference of the foot that I was aiming for. And I think they worked out fine. My partner said they're really comfortable and she likes them. I think though that if I do make these again, I will aim for something with more negative ease, just to get what I feel like is a better fit for socks. Even if they are thick socks, I love wearing thick socks, so I would want to be able to wear them out and about. So yes, that is the feminine raggsokker socks. I am really happy with how they turned out, and I do still want to make a pair for myself, so we'll see if that ever happens. Next project is the Bare Illusion blanket, which is a pattern by Steve Plummer. So I shared this with you in the previous episode, and honestly, I had intended to film this last week, but I had barely done any knitting on it, and I think that sort of demotivated me in filming. Demotivated me to film. It was I didn't feel like, because I didn't have much to show you, or anything to show you really that would have been different, I just didn't feel very motivated to film another episode. So instead of filming on the day that I had planned to last week, I sat down and started knitting, and since then I actually knit quite a bit in the past week. So funny how that happens. Let me show it to you now. So this is being knit in the Fiddlesticks Finch which is a 100% cotton 10-ply yarn. So this is it here. That's the front. You can actually kind of make out the pattern a bit looking at it front on. You can definitely see it much more in the back. I am regretting a bit that I have popped, I knit until the yarn finished, which has ended up in the middle of the rows both times, or all 4 times really, I should say, that I've changed yarn. I wish I had just let, that last few bit of yarn go, and just done it, just joined a new ball of yarns at the edges. I think I should really do that next time, although it's kind of late now to be making that call because these are right smack bang in the middle of the blanket. Anyway, because it is so hard to show you what it really looks like this in this sort of filming format, I did take another little video so that I could show you what it looks like, when you're looking at it from an angle so that you can really see what the pattern is. And it was interesting because I laid it down flat probably for the first time, and I started taking that video, and that's when I first noticed that you could actually see, the image when you're looking at it front on. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not doing that illusion effect as much. But then, when you do look at it from an angle, it is so much more obvious. So I mean, it works. It definitely works. Maybe I could have done this at a bit of a tighter gauge, but I really wouldn't want to because it's cotton. It has no elasticity, and it is already, just that little bit more difficult to work with than wool. So I really wouldn't want to be having to fight the yarn any more than I already am by knitting it at a tighter gauge than what I'm knitting it at. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned last time what I am knitting it on. So I am using 3.75 mil needles, and the recommended is 5 millimeters. So I've gone down quite a bit, and yeah, I am really happy with how the fabric is turning out. It has, I just dropped a ball of yarn. It has a decent amount of drape to it, and I know that with washing that will also get better. And what else did I want to say about this? When I laid it out as well, particularly when I looked at the back of it, I noticed a mistake that I did not notice while knitting. So can you see that? Yeah, that little blip there. I somehow knit into the stitch below. So at the front, see, I mean, the lucky thing is that it can be really difficult to even spot at the front. Where is it? I kind of have to look for the mistake at the back. There it is. I wonder if you spotted it a lot sooner than I did, but it is, can you see it? See that stitch there, where it is just the one stitch of white rather than 2 stacked stitches. But yeah, luckily, because those 2 rows are knits from the front, and there isn't a purl in that section, it's pretty invisible, because it is still just giving that flat bit of fabric there. And then I did also notice, when I noticed that mistake, that a bit lower down there was a spot here. I don't know if you can see it, but I must have split the yarn when I was knitting, which I actually have done a bit, but I have caught it and fixed it most of the time. But this little bit here, there's a couple of plies that just weren't caught up, and they're just flying free, doing their thing, but that's all right. I'm really, really happy with how it has turned out. There have been a few instances where I have knit the completely wrong section or the wrong row, or I've just completely missed like doing all of the purls, and I have had to like go back and re-knit, which is really not fun in this. Like it's so long. I think there was one where I didn't notice until nearly the end of the row that I had done the whole row wrong. So for that time I actually just, instead of tinking back that row and re-knitting it correctly, I just sort of started the next row, and when I got to all of the many stitches that were wrong, I just reoriented them. Is that the right word? Reoriented? I just fixed them on the next row, and I was going back. I undid those stitches and did them up. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. I feel like I'm just not making sense this morning. But yeah, it's going really well so far. I'm really pleased with my progress. I'm pretty sure I was around somewhere here when I last showed it to you, so I have knit almost twice as much length in the last week. I keep forgetting what I was going to say next. What do my notes say? Oh yeah, so I do like to keep track of all of my projects, which I have talked about before. I use an app to sort of time how long it takes me to do things, just because I like knowing and doing that kind of thing. And interestingly, I'm not a really fast knitter. For this project, my average seems to be about 2.7, 2.8 seconds to make one stitch on average. If I am just doing knit stitches, I think I can usually shave about a second off that, but whenever purls are involved, that does slow me down because I'm not as quick to purl as I am to knit. Anyway, the interesting thing that I found is the last few times that I knit, I was achieving about 3.2, 3.3 seconds to make a stitch, and I couldn't figure out why that was. And then it occurred to me, my cousin has been teaching herself how to do gel nails, and I asked her to do mine, and she did this for me. It has grown out a bit. You can see all the regrowth there, but I got her to put the words knit in my nails, which I absolutely love, and then she just tried doing some little decorative stuff for my thumbs. But anyway, because my nails, which are really short to begin with, because they're longer than I'm used to, and because they're so much harder now too, I do find that when I knit, sometimes the tip of the right hand needle is like catching on the tips of my nails. So that's something that I'm used to, and that's the only thing that I can think of that would be why I have slowed down by about half a second. So yes, just an interesting note. I still love having my nails done, and I'm sure that if I kept doing it, I'd get used to it, and hopefully I'd get back up to speed. But that's just a little side note there. The only other thing that I wanted to say about this project is, because it is a blanket, it is quite a number of stitches to do one row. I think I can do about 5 rows in half an hour. And so I do feel like it is the type of project that requires me to have like a bigger chunk of time. Like I can't just, just do little bits at a time. I need a decent amount of time and mental concentrating power to work on it. And sometimes I just feel like I haven't had that, but I have wanted to work on, I have felt like knitting, I just have felt like I haven't had the capacity to work on that one. So I have been considering starting an easier project. Well, for one thing, I couldn't decide what that would be, but mainly I am concerned that if I started an easier project, then whenever I felt like knitting, I would default to that easier project, and then this whip would just never get finished. And my evidence for that is when I was thinking of what other projects I could do, I completely forgot that I have actually 2 other whips that I could have picked up and been working on. So I guess when I start something new, I tend to forget what I already have going. I was considering a beanie or hand muffs or socks. So I have, all of these 3 types of projects again in my Ravelry queue that have been sitting there for a really long time. And I thought maybe this is the perfect opportunity to get them going as the easy project for this more complicated blanket project. And then when I sat down to make my notes for this episode, I realized, there's a jumper that I'm making for my partner that I could also work on. It's a cabled jumper in a lovely green yarn. Or there's the vest that I was working on at the very start of this year and late last year that I also somehow completely forgot about, and I only have like a little bit left to do on it. So yeah, I'm just not sure. I just feel like, I'm worried that I would completely drop this project, and this is a gift, so I do really want to focus and get it done. But I am curious how you all manage that. Like when you're working on something complicated, do you just want to focus on that and not have other projects to distract you, or do you like balancing it out with another project? It just occurred to me that, I'm gonna segue into my next section, which is an eyes and ears, because somehow it didn't occur to me earlier when I was writing up my notes, but this is the perfect sort of lead-in to another podcast that I wanted to talk about. It's the I Thought I Knew How podcast. It is really fantastic. She is a knitter, and she started off talking about the Master Hand Knitters program, but then she sort of moved away from that and just sort of started exploring wool and different sheep breeds and all of that kind of stuff. She's a big fan of Shetland. Anyway, I'm stay focused. Okay, no, not you stay focused, me stay focused. You do whatever you want to do. Okay, breathe. Okay, so I wanted to mention the I Thought I Knew How podcast because I, like with everything, all media that I consume, I am always behind. I'm never really up to date with anything. I listened to an older episode recently where she talks about a concept that she learned when she was a teacher about the 3 books that you should be reading at any given time, and then she sort of translated that into the 3 projects that you should have on your needles at any given time. And it was, what was it? You should look up that episode. I'm going to link to her podcast below, but I thought that was a really good episode, and if you're interested, check it out, because she'll explain it a lot better than I am now. But basically it's something like have a project that's easy, have a project that's more challenging, and have a project that's really challenging. Something like that. Anyway, this would be my challenging project. I mean, it is just knits and pearls, but because it's you have to be so on top of where you are, and it's really hard to spot a mistake if you don't do it pretty much immediately, because it's so hard to see like where you are in the pattern. So that would be the reason that this would be a challenging one for me, and then the easy project would, I guess, be almost anything else. No, that's not true. The easy project is probably the vest, because I think all I need to do is a little bit of the armband on that, which will be super easy. And yeah, I feel so spacey today, and I thought that this episode would just run so much smoother, but oh well, we're going with it. I recommend that podcast. I thought that was a really good idea as a way to sort of keep your knitting or your crafting or whatever you're doing, reading, whatever, interesting and engaging, and keep you learning and keep it fun. So that is that. Since we have now moved into eyes and ears, I will just keep going. What was my next one? Oh, it was just a little tiny thing. I noticed when I was in a shop the other day that they had a new lip balm product called Lanolips, and it's made out of lanolin, so I was really interested in that, but I didn't get it because I don't really use lip balm. I just don't like how it feels on my lips. Like I can always just like feel it as a coating sitting there. But if any of you have used it, or if any of you decide to use it after hearing about me talk about how I'm not using it, I would really love to know what you think about it. Again, because it's like a sheepy byproduct. It's related to wool, so I'm interested in it. It's just not something that I really see myself using it. So if you do, please let me know what you think, because I'm really, really curious about it. That was it for eyes and ears. This feels really messy. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is Multicrafty. So again, referring back to this illusion blanket project, in those times where I have felt like I didn't have the time or mental energy to be working on that blanket, and I've wanted something easier to do, I have turned to spinning. And I've really enjoyed getting back into it. I do have to say that a lot of my motivation for spinning again is because in playing catch up, as I usually am with all of the podcasts and vlogs and whatever that I listen to or watch, one of them is Andrea Mowry's I'll Knit If I Want To, and she is really into spinning as well, and she talks about it a lot. So I think that sort of got, my spinning motivational juices flowing again. So I guess that's why, or one of the reasons why I turned to knitting. And my wheel is usually sitting, my electric eel wheel is usually just sitting at the top there, but it had kind of been bothering me how dusty it kept getting because I wasn't using it very often. And at some point last year, I did buy this case for it at an op shop, but I just wasn't using it. And then there was a point late last year where I considered getting rid of this, and I was like, let me just chuck it in and see if it even fits. And it did. And now I really like using this old case for it. So you can see here when I forget to put away my orifice hook, I just hook it onto the zip and let it hang there. And I'll show you what I have inside here. One thing that I love about it is when I open it up, because my knitting chair or my spinning chair is just on that side of the room, and the case is sort of facing it. So when I open it up and it just hangs open, I was able to put these couple of cards in. Can you see it? Yes. Where the mirror was. So I just like that they're kind of there, easy to access, they're not going to get lost, and I can just see them. And then, of course, I take the wheel out to actually use it. But I have also chucked in here my Burt's Bees hand salve, and my hands have been getting really, really dry lately. So I have been making an effort to use this before I start spinning, just to try to keep a bit of moisture in my hands. I also have in here a little wraps per inch gauge that is from 11T1 Windmills. I got it in, I'm going to forget the name of it, but it was an advent that they did a couple of years ago that was like myth and folklore themed, which I really, really loved. Actually, yeah, a lot of the stuff is on my pin bag here. But anyway, what am I even showing you? I just talk too much and I don't even know. But that's the spin that I've been working on. Not great fibre, but that's a whole other story that we won't get into. And I probably have gotten into it at some point, so you don't need to hear it again. Oh, goodness. What else do I have to share? Anything? Yeah, I kind of have been enjoying having spinning as my easy project when I can't work on that blanket, so probably just keep going as I am and not start something else that will just, yeah, I already have a big enough list, a big enough to-do list that I really don't need to add any more to it. So yeah, I've really been enjoying spinning. The only other Multicrafty that I have to share is last year for my birthday, one of the things that I was given was a gift voucher for a Céramiques studio called Céramiques, and they do have a couple of studios in Victoria. So I chose to do the wheel intro class, and my partner came along to that too. And you do the 2-hour intro class. They tell you the basics of how to use a pottery wheel, and basically then you're just left to your own devices. You know, they walk around and give you tips and help you out and stuff, but you're just kind of left for the most part to just play around and do your thing. So, and then at the end of the class, you get to choose which of the things you made you actually want them to go ahead and fire and glaze. So I picked 2 of the 5 that I had made. My first one is probably my best one. I don't know how that happened, but it came out really, really well, and then everything else after that was kind of just like a big old mess. Anyway, this is what that first one looks like glazed. It is a bit wonky, of course. This is my very first time doing that kind of craft, so of course it's not going to be perfect. I have been wondering what I would do with this. And, I mean, I could just keep it as a bowl to put stuff in, but it also has kind of made me interested. Partly also because I have been spinning more lately, but I have kind of been curious about trying a supported spindle, which I had never been interested in before. But now that I have this neat little bowl that I made, I kind of want to try it. So that will maybe be on the cards for sometime in the future. The other one that I made that I have kept is this one here. I'm using it as a trinket dish for my few pieces of jewelry at the moment, but my original idea for it was that this would be a yarn bowl, but I could not make this shaft bit in the middle long enough to really decently hold a cake of yarn, but you know, that was the idea. And then, you know, my ends just got so like big and floppy at my rim, so I kind of just folded it into a flower, and it, you know, it kind of hugs a cake pretty nicely, but yeah, that's, you can see it's just the spike shaft, whatever you call it, just isn't tall enough to hold anything in place. So while it has failed as a yarn bowl, I think it makes a pretty neat trinket dish. And that's all I have to share with you today. So as usual, I will end this on a heart full of craft. And I am really grateful for not just spinning, but sort of like how easy it can be. It's obviously, you know, a lot more skill involved if you're, you know, doing something more intentional. Like if you're, like right now I'm just spinning and I'm just, you know, practicing my drafting and kind of just seeing like how fine I can go with it. Of course, if I was trying to create something specific, that would take a lot more skill to, you know, be able to produce the exact type of yarn that I want, rather than let's just see what happens with this. And, you know, of course, all of the creative things that you can do with spinning require a lot more skill and effort. But basically what I'm trying to say is, for me right now, I'm finding spinning really relaxing. It's so easy to get into a state of flow because you just sort of have it going and you're just sitting there calmly, like doing that drafting motion. And yes, so much less concentration required than for this blanket that I've been working on. It's just been really nice to do. So I'm really grateful for how easy and peaceful it has been to be spinning lately. And I hope that all of you are finding the same sense of joy and relaxation and comfort in all of the crafts that you do. I'm so sorry that I feel like my mind just like, whoa, went everywhere this episode, and I was just a lot more scattered than I thought that I would be. So if you're still here, thank you so much for your patience and sticking it through and spending your time with me today. I hope that you've enjoyed my ramblings, and I don't know when I'll see you next. Hopefully not too long. But in the meantime, I hope that you're taking care of yourselves and finding time for your loved ones and for making things that make you happy. That's it. I'll see you next time. Fare thee well.